Hello everyone, this is the end-term examination paper of BTech 6th semester and the subject is data warehousing and data mining. In this question paper, we are going to discuss every questions irrespective of the choices. The first question is to answer the following questions in brief, and the question is, what do you mean by strategic information? So, strategic information is meant for making rapid business decisions, and it is also used for altering business strategies and business structures. For a good example, consider yourself as a vice president of a marketing department and you need the reason for the drop in sales for 3 consecutive weeks. For this, data warehouse should be able to give you complete tools and information as a quick response to the problem. Now, the next question is, give at least 6 characteristics of data warehouse. And that is, it is subject oriented. It means data warehouse is used to analyze particular subject area in a business environment, like sales is a critical area in sales department and claims is a critical area in an insurance company. Time variant means that data warehouse contains current as well as historical data. Non-volatile means that the data stored does not frequently change. And you have only read permission on the data. Data granularity means the level of data in fact table. Integrated means that data in the data warehouse is collected from different data sources and integrated in it. And data warehouse is specifically designed for query and analysis purpose. Now the question is, give some requirement gathering methods for data warehouse. These are, the requirement may be gathered from enterprise goals, objectives. It may be from the same company or from any other company. It may be gathered from user groups. It may be taken from interviews, workshops, and also seizing the trends and patterns of any other organization. Now the fourth question is, what do you mean by data granularity in data warehouse? Data granularity means the level of details in a fact table. And you may also say that the more the detail is there in a fact table, the higher is its granularity, or vice versa. Now the fifth question is, what is dimension modeling and how it is different from ER model? Dimension modeling have critical business measure, it has views along the dimensions, and also it is intuitive to users. While in the case of ER model, it is there to remove data redundancy, ensure data consistency, and express relations among different attributes. The sixth question is to define aggregate fact tables and why they are needed. There are fact tables that just contain the summary data, and these are known as aggregate fact table. They are needed because it accelerates the query performance. And these are best used when you are navigating through your data warehouse. Seventh question is, what is meant by slice and dice? Give an example. So let's consider an example in which months are row, products are column, stores are pages, cube itself is a data model. In this, the primary edges of cube is represented by months and product, and the page displayed is a slice or a two-dimensional plane of the cube, that is represented in front of the user. Even the slices are considered to be rotated when the dice is rotated. So, when the user looks at the page, he may get different versions of slices of a single cube. Now, the question is, what do you mean by dimensional analysis? So, dimensional analysis is an informational analysis on data which takes into account different relationships and each of which correspond to dimensions. Also, we keep on drill down and achieve results, and it helps in obtaining better results from multiple dimensions. This is known as multidimensional analysis. Next question is, what is data mining? So, data mining is the term related to discovering knowledge from a data warehouse or from a raw data. Data mining helps you understand the substance in a different way. It unearths the patterns and trends from the raw data that you have never expected that it may exist. The main feature of data mining operation is predictive modeling, database segmentation, link analysis, and deviation detection. Next question is, what are the basic differences between Olap and data mining? The full form of Olap is online analytical processing, and the main function of Olap is to fetch multidimensional data from the data warehouse, and it is used to analyze multidimensional data, while data mining is used to deal with obtaining patterns and trends from the raw data that is present on the data warehouse. For further preference, refer your book. And question number 2, the first question is, what are the various data sources of data warehouse? Explain. So, following are the 4 data sources for data warehouse. First one is production data is in the form of data that comes from various operational systems of the enterprise, and these data may differ from enterprise to enterprise. The next one is internal data. Internal data may be in a form of private spreadsheets, documents, customer profiles. Customer profiles even include their IDs, username, passwords, and sometimes internal data contains data that is fetched from departmental databases. Now the third one is archive data. Archive data is used to store historical snapshots of data. Even historical data is needed for analysis few times. It is stored in archive data sets, and these archive data sets may be in a form of CD, DVDs, or any external storage medium. The fourth one is external data. External data is the data from any external sources, and it is used for a high percentage of information. We can also use market share data of competitors as a part of external data just to improve our business trend. Now the next question is, how are the top-down and bottom-up approaches for building a data warehouse is different? Discuss the merits and demerits of each approach. In the top-to-down approach for building a data warehouse, we keep in mind a centralized place. Decentralized place is a place where the data is organized, and the organized data is subject oriented, integrated, non-volatile, and time variant. The data should be accessible at detailed atomic level by drilling down. This is the same as granularity. It means the more I need the detailed information, I need to drill down into the data warehouse and drill up for summarized levels. Data marts are treated as subsets of the data warehouse, and top to down approach. Data warehouse is fragmented into data marts that contain specific departmental information. And in the case of bottom-to-up approach, different data marts from the different database or from a single organizations are combined and integrated to form a complete data warehouse that contain multiple informations, dimensions. And in the case of merits and demerits of each approach, refer internet and you may find a good options for it. In question number 3, the first question is describe 5 differences between operational system and information system. The differences are the data content in operational systems are that they store current values. Informational system stores the archived and summarized data, and the data structure for operational systems are optimized for transactions, and an informational system, it is basically made for complex queries. And the access frequency of operational systems are very high. An informational system, medium to low. Access type in operational systems are the permissions that we have, like we can update and delete the records. While in the case of informational system, we have only read permission. In the usage terms, operational systems are repetitive and informational are on ad hoc, that for some specific request, or random. It has large number of users and informational systems have relatively small. Now the next question is, data warehousing is only viable means to resolve the information crisis and to provide strategic information. List 4 reasons to support this assertion and explain them. As we all know, the information is stored in operational systems and data is existing in every organization. But the data that exist in most of the organizations are not able to be used to fetch important information. And this led to data crisis because data is present in every organization. They are not in a decision making format. So with the demand for data to be presented to different formats and reports increasing internally in every organization, there was a need for a system that provides a specific information to improve the business structure. So strategic information system comes in role and it helps the companies to alter their business structures and trends. It is also used to aid the company in achieving a competitive advantage over its competitors and to provide a good trend for any organization. Now the fourth question is, what is the star schema and what are the components table of star schema? So star schema is a special type of data mart schema. In star schema, we have a fact table and one or more dimension table. Star schema is an important special case of the snowflake schema, and it is more effective for handling simpler queries. And for more complex query, we will like to use the snowflake schema. Now, what are the components of the star schema? So the components are a fact table that contains measurable or countable fact data. It contains the measuring units, and a single fact table is connected to multiple dimension tables, and dimension tables contains the dimension key for itself. Also, there can be two types of fact tables. One can be table and another one can be measurement fact table. Now, the second question is, describe the composition of primary keys for the dimension table and fact tables. So, as we all know that fact table is connected to multiple dimension tables, and a row in a fact table relates to a combination of rows from all the dimension tables. In this case, a row in a fact table must be identified by the primary keys of these four or more than 4, 5. Thus, the primary key for fact table is the combination of the primary keys or the concatenation of primary keys of all the dimension table. Now another one, in every dimension table, each and every dimension table itself contain a primary key, and that is to uniquely identify each row in that particular dimension table. Now, describe slowly changing dimensions, and what are the 3 types of slowly changing dimensions? Explain each very briefly. So firstly, what are slowly changing dimensions? These dimensions are the dimension whose value changes slowly over time, means they do not change regularly on a day-to-day basis. Now, its first type is correction of errors. So in this type, we normally relate the corrections of error in a source system. Like there can be any spelling error or there can be any error while typing. Like if we have John and this is the error and we need to rectify in a way that the new value should be John. So these types of corrections are considered in type 1 correction, and in this there is no need to store the old data, and sometimes these changes have no significance for the system. Old values are discarded as they are not needed anymore, and even the change in the source system need not to be preserved in data warehouse. Now the next type is preservation of history. In this part, we normally consider an example in which there is a girl whose name is Kristen and I need to track the data before she was married, and I even need to track the data after she get married. So in this case, I need the data her marital status is single and after her marital status as married. So in this case, we use preservation of history, and both of the table contains the date of modification. So basically in this type, the general principles are that the changes are the two changes to the source system, means that are the exact changes, and there is a need to preserve history in the data warehouse. Like if I need to fetch any data related to the status of Kristen when she was not married, then I need the history to be preserved. And the history in the data warehouse is saved as partitions, and any attribute changes should be mentioned in the data warehouse. Now the third type is the tentative soft revision. The name itself defines its definition. It means that any changes in the warehouse should be soft. It means that it should provide the ability to track in forward and backward direction. It means like if there is a guy named Robert Smith and he is in New England and now his office is transferred to Chicago territory, data from both the territories. In this case, the soft tentative changes should be related to the source system. There is a need to keep track of history with old and new values of the change attribute, because both the values are very important in this case. And there is also a case where you need to compare the performances across the transition, and they provide the ability to track forward and backward as name suggests itself. Now the sixth question is, state any 5 types of Dr. Coates guidelines for an Olap system and briefly describe each of them. So I'm going to write few types, and these are like the first one is multidimensional conceptual view. In data warehouse, you all know that we have dimensions, and there may be case that we need to store multiple dimensions. So in Olap system, we take multidimensional conceptual view as an input and give the user different versions of a single cube. Here the transparency means that the underlying data repository, computing architecture, and diverse nature of the source is transparent to users, because users are not concerned with all these stuff. Now the third part is accessibility. It should provide access only to the data that is actually needed to perform specific analysis, presenting a single, coherent, and consistent view to the user. There is no need to display the logical schema or heterogeneous physical data to the user. The next one is consistent reporting performance. It means that the user must perceive consistent runtime, response time, or machine utilization every time when they ask for a query and they run the query, they will find the result as soon as they can. The next one is client-server architecture. In this, the users are client and the server, you may say that the query processing system, like the user is requesting for any data and it's going to data warehouse and it is giving you some strategic information for your business. So there may be a client-server architecture system. It also gives generic dimensions. Generic dimensions means that every dimension is equivalent in both structure and operational capabilities. Like you have one logical structure for each dimensions, and they are performed in the same way. And it supports multi-user support. It means that end users may perform query operation and they may fetch result from the data warehouse or from Olap. Now the next question is, what are the essential differences between the MOLAP rollup models? The full form of MOLAP is multidimensional online analytical processing, and the full form of rollup is relational online analytical processing. So in this, each and every thing contains its own engine. Like in MOLAP, it has MOLAP engine. That is basically used to make prefabricated data cubes. Used to make prefabricated data cubes. It means all these data cubes are stored in MDDB. MDDB. What it means is multidimensional database. It stores the summarized data, and in the case of rollup, we have rollup engine, and what it does, it creates data cubes on fly. Means when you request for any data cube, when you request for multidimensional view, then on your request, the rollup engine will perform the operation and give you the multidimensional view. Further information, you may consider net. Now we have 7th question. In this, the first part is what are hypercubes and how they are applied in an Olap system. So first of all, let's start with the definition of hypercubes. Basically, hypercube is a general metaphor to represent the multidimensional data. So as we know that in data warehouse, the data is stored. It is represented to user in a multidimensional way so that he could be able to see all the pages display, and in this way he is able to see different version of a single page. Like for example, there are four multidimensional data. One is for store, another one is for time, next is for product, and the fourth one is for matrices. Here the matrices you can consider as data for the fact table. So as we know that we use in a cube, an example of slice and dice, we use 3 multidimensional data. Like here we will use hypercubes, and we can represent all these dimensions in a single page as store, like page, time should be row, and matrices. would be displayed as columns. So this is the basic meaning of using hypercubes. We have 4-dimension tables and we are using all 4 for the multidimensional view. And in the same way, if we have 5 dimensions, then we can merge any of 2, make the pair and use to store as a single one. And for the next part, how do they apply in a Olap system, you may consider your textbook. Now the second question is discuss 2 reasons why feeding data in Olap system directly from the source operational system is not recommended. You know that in the operational system we have data stored in day-to-day basis, and even the reason is that the data values in the dimensions are not constant. Because when the new value comes, they are overridden by the old ones. An overriding of dimension table attribute is not always appropriate in data warehouse. The next reason is that the key that is used in the operational system has its own built-in meaning. What it means is that in some way the key indicates the data warehouse, and in some cases it indicates the products that are stored in the data warehouse. This may lead to some complex situations. Also, in operational system, we normally use customer key as primary key. For the dimension table, and here the problem arises because the customer number could relate to a data of a new as well as retired customer. Now the next question is question number 8. In this, the first part is what is data mining list? Explain the activities which are performed before the data is prepared for data mining task. So here we have the first one as association rule. What it means that it searches for the relationships between the variables. For example, a supermarket might gather data on customer purchasing habits. This is known as associating a rule by some learning patterns. The next one is clustering. So what clustering means is that the main task is to discover groups and structures that have some similar functions, method, or any similarities. Now, the next one is classification. In this, the main task is to generalize the structure and apply it to new data. Now, the fourth one is regression. In regression, we basically find a function which models the data with the least error, and we also have a summarization in which more compact representation of data set is provided, including the visualization and report generation. Now the next question is how does the memory-based reasoning technique work and what are the applied principles? In this, we have the known instances, and these known instances are used to discover the unknown instances. So what does it means? That it is a basic technique which have data set of known records, means all the known records are stored in the data set, and whenever a new record arrives for evaluation, the algorithm finds the nearest simpler neighbor to the new record, and then it uses the two key components. The first one is the function key, and the function key are further distributed in distance function, as well as the combination function. In the distance function, the distance is calculated by using the data mining tools, and whatever the results are determined, all results are combined by using the combination function of various distance functions, and in this way a particular operation is performed on the basis of memory, that is in the case of known instances, and itself stored in a data set. Now the next question is, what is market basket analysis? So market basket analysis may provide the retailer with information to understand the purchase behavior of a buyer. This information will enable the retailer to understand the buyer's need, and as well as to rewrite the store's layout according to cross promotional programs or even capture new buyer. This analysis of data and data mining techniques are used to discover co-occurrence relationship among the activities performed by the specific individual or the groups, the internet, or you may refer your textbook. Thank you.